Regular save on a short-handed bid from Eller. To Barberio, he'll shoot a tip. Good save on a redirect rebound. He made a second save. Now Byron. What a save by Crawford. Goes the other way. Garrison got a big shot. Put it in front. Kelly on a shot. What a save rebound. They did not get it past the sprawled Crawford. Half a Corey Crawford or a third of it was in the net. Punched on now, and here's Stamkos moving on in on Crawford. He waits. Save made by Crawford.
A steal by Fontaine, gets loose, save, rebound, chance, and that's stopped by Crawford as well.
Ahead, shot it, get it out of the rebound. Oh! Corey Crawford! How do you like me now, Arturi Lehkonen? He steamrolls ahead. Draisaitl is going to get to the net. He set it, Hall. Crawford! Call the cops! Gage, Taylor, Hall at a 6x4, and Crawford keeps the game alive. They try to catch on to the chains. They will. Stamkos, saved by Crawford. Steven Stamkos, the two-time Rocket Richard Trophy winner, one of the best snipers in the league, had Crawford to himself.
The 2003 NHL Draft. One of those legendary classes that hockey fans can't stop talking about. And for good reason. This draft class wasn't just stacked, it was overflowing with talent. We're talking about a class that produced an insane number of players who either flirted with Hall of Fame status or outright punched their ticket. Names like Patrice Bergeron, Shea Weber, Eric Stahl, Ryan Getzlaf, Joe Pavelski, Brent Seabrook, and Brent Burns, just to name a few, helped to define an era of hockey. And let's not forget about the goaltenders picked in this draft. The very first selection in the draft was none other than Marc-Andre Fleury, a guy who's still going strong today and has played the second most games in NHL history as of this moment. Then there's Yaroslav Halak, an underrated gem who quietly put together a solid career with Montreal, St. Louis, and New York. This draft also featured names like Jimmy Howard and Brian Elliott, both of whom were reliable starters for years in Detroit and St. Louis. Simply put, the 2003 draft wasn't just good, it was legendary. This draft was all around stacked with an ungodly amount of solid NHLers, and it's no surprise that many consider it the greatest draft in NHL history. But beyond just its overall strength, it may have been the most pivotal draft in the history of one franchise, the Chicago Blackhawks. At the time, Chicago was stuck in one of the worst spots an organization could be. They were painfully average, treading water with no real direction. Their fan base was frustrated, not only because of the team's struggles, but also because local games weren't even broadcasted on TV, thanks to brutal management decisions. On top of that, the previous decade had been filled with a string of baffling trades that left the team in desperate need of a win. The Blackhawks had to get this draft right, and in 2003, they might have had their best draft class ever, which brings us to today's topic. Not only did Chicago secure Brent Seabrook and Dustin Byfuglien, but they also found their goaltender of the future, an achievement not to be overlooked considering the immense challenge of drafting for that position. In a sport where stability between the pipes is a rare luxury, most teams struggle to find a netminder who can provide a decade of consistency. For the Blackhawks, this proved to be invaluable, as they have yet to establish a true number one goaltender since his departure. With their first round selection, Chicago made a strong opening move by selecting Brent Seabrook, a defenseman who would go on to become a cornerstone of the franchise for years to come. A fantastic start. But they weren't done yet. In what is widely regarded as one of the best drafts in NHL history, the Blackhawks would also land one of the top goaltenders of that draft class. At 52nd overall in the second round of the 2003 NHL draft, Chicago selected a young netminder from the Moncton Wildcats of the QMJHL, Corey Crawford. Crawford was not known for being an exceptionally athletic butterfly-style goaltender. Instead, he excelled as a balanced positional netminder, relying on sound technique and sharp reflexes. His ability to track the puck with precision allowed him to make quick saves, decisive saves with minimal movement. Crawford also had very solid rebound control. Crawford's ability to recover swiftly, to put in the extra effort to deny a second chance opportunity, made him a formidable goaltender for opposing shooters. While his early career showed some vulnerabilities, Crawford's game evolved significantly over time. He grew more confident and composed in the crease, refining his technique and solidifying his presence as an elite goaltender. His journey to even being drafted was anything but conventional, making his story all the more compelling. Crawford's journey is strikingly similar to another goaltender I've covered before, Tim Thomas. Both reached their peak in their later 20s, and while neither had the longest careers, they each dominated for a stretch, putting up some of the best numbers in the league. A late bloomer by any standard, he defied the odds and carved out a stellar career. Yet despite his impressive stats and accomplishments, he often doesn't get the recognition he deserves. Many fans write off his success as a product of playing for Chicago during that era, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Crawford's game was built on calm positional play, less flashy than some, but just as effective. His ability to stay composed under pressure was a defining trait, one that helped the Blackhawks make deep playoff runs year after year. In a way, he reminds me of a more refined, elite version of Jordan Binnington, particularly in the way that both goalies thrive under high-stakes moments. After being drafted, Corey Crawford wrapped up his junior career with the Moncton Wildcats, posting some truly impressive numbers. The first 5 years of his professional career, however, were mostly spent in the American Hockey League, with brief call-ups to the Blackhawks in 2006, 2008, and 2010. He spent his first 2 minor league seasons with the Norfolk Admirals before becoming the backbone of the Rockford Ice Hogs when the team made the jump to the AHL in 2008. From 2005 to 2010, Crawford played 263 regular season pro games, 255 of them coming in the minors. Goaltenders tend to take longer to develop than forwards or defensemen, but spending 5 years in the AHL can feel like an eternity for any player. Crawford remained patient even though he had already proven he could dominate at the AHL level. In the 2007-8 season with Rockford, the Quebec native posted a strong 29-15-5 record and a 2.83 goals against average and a .907 save percentage. That same season, he made the most of his limited NHL opportunities, appearing in 5 games for Chicago, allowing just 8 goals and putting up an impressive .929 save percentage. But even with that success, his moment to take the full-time leap to the NHL hadn't arrived just yet. And the reason? Opportunity, more specifically the lack of it. Despite his steadily improving AHL performances, Crawford's path to the Blackhawks crease was simply crowded. Between 2005 and 2010, the team had a carousel of goaltenders: Antti Niemi, Cristobal Huet, Nikolai Habibulin, Craig Anderson, Sebastian Caron, and Brian Boucher. Every year, at least 2 of those names stood ahead of him on the depth chart. No matter how well Crawford played in the minors, there just wasn't an open door yet. For the first 5 years of his professional career, Corey Crawford found himself in a frustrating cycle, called up to the big leagues occasionally, but never for too long. It seemed Crawford was only summoned when injury struck or when the season was winding down. Yet his numbers in the AHL painted a picture of a young goaltender with real promise. Between 2006 and 2010, Crawford received several of these brief call-ups. In the handful of NHL games he did play in, he performed admirably, posting a stellar .929 save percentage and even earning his first career shutout in 2008. Still, despite his strong play, he appeared in just 5 games for Chicago. By 2009, Crawford was making a serious case for a permanent NHL role. That season in the AHL, he put up an impressive .917 save percentage over 47 games, along with a 2.59 goals against average. His efforts didn't go unnoticed. He even made a brief relief appearance for Chicago during their playoff loss to Detroit. But despite his success, he remained on the outside looking in, waiting for his true shot at the big league crease. By 2010, word around town was that Crawford might finally get his long-awaited shot. At just 24 years old, it seemed like the perfect time for him to see some action with the Blackhawks. With Chicago parting ways with Nikolai Habibulin, all signs pointed to Crawford at least getting a few games in that season. season. But instead, the Hawks decided to roll with Antti Niemi, a goalie who had similar numbers to Crawford and Rockford the year before. That's a tough moment for a prospect who's on the bubble between the AHL and NHL. They bring in another veteran, and mentally that's not easy. Crawford would explain, "It's something you have to work through. You just have to keep pushing, stay in the moment, and focus on playing hockey. Keep enjoying it, work harder, and trying to get better." Crawford credits his coaches, Wade Flaherty, Bill Peters, and Ted Dent, for keeping him motivated. "Those guys really helped me stay on track and not give up. Everyone's path is different, and it would have been easy to sit back, complain, and feel sorry for myself. And yeah, I probably did that a little, as anyone would. But at the end of the day, I just kept playing hard and enjoying the game. Eventually, I got my shot. That shot, however, would have to wait just one more season." In 2010, while Crawford was putting together another solid campaign in the AHL, the Blackhawks were celebrating their first Stanley Cup win in 49 years. By this point, it had been 7 years since Chicago drafted him. He was still young, but the patience and mental toughness it took to stick with it, that's something you have to respect. And this is exactly why goalies require time. They don't develop the same way skaters do. Yet year after year, Crawford found himself in the same situation. Every offseason looked like he might finally get his chance, and every offseason Chicago brought in someone else. After Chicago's triumphant Stanley Cup win in 2010, they were immediately faced with serious salary cap issues. As a result, they were forced to trade away goaltender Antti Niemi, while Cristobal Huet opted to return to France to continue his playing career. So what was Chicago's plan for the 2011 season? They decided to give Corey Crawford a real shot while also bringing in veteran netminder Marty Turco. But early on in the season, it became clear Crawford was ready to take over as the team's #1 goaltender. Given the opportunity, he seized it and never looked back. In what was still officially his rookie season, Crawford played in 57 games, finishing 4th in Calder Trophy voting and earning a spot on the NHL All-Rookie team. He posted an impressive 33-18-6 record with a .917 save percentage, a 2.30 goals against average, and 4 shutouts. Despite Chicago struggling at times as defending champions, Crawford's strong play was a key factor in securing a playoff spot. He also delivered a 61.8% quality start percentage, an undeniably solid performance. And then came the playoffs, where Chicago found themselves facing none other than the President's Trophy winning Vancouver Canucks. That series, it deserves an entire video of its own. Crawford really came into his own during that near reverse sweep for Chicago, standing tall in net for the entire series. Unfortunately, it all ended in heartbreak for both the team and Crawford himself. Over those 7 games, he posted a 3-4 record with a .927 save percentage and a .714 quality start percentage, numbers that made it clear he wasn't the reason for Chicago falling short. In fact, his performance hinted that the team had a future starter on their hands. But when you're coming off a Stanley Cup the year before with another goaltender, criticism is inevitable. Doubts crept in, and fans and analysts alike wondering, maybe Crawford isn't that guy. And in 2012, those concerns only grew as Crawford hit a sophomore slump. In 57 games that season, Crawford posted a 30-17-7 record with a .903 save percentage and a 2.72 goals against average. However, the most noticeable drop in his performance was his quality starts, which plummeted to just 49.1%. Then came the playoffs, where Crawford struggled mightily. He took much of the blame for Chicago's first-round exit against Phoenix, finishing the series with a 2-4 record and an .893 save percentage and just 1 quality start across all 6 games. This was the moment when serious doubts about him began to take hold. Could the Blackhawks really win another Stanley Cup with Crawford in net? That offseason, skepticism only grew as veteran backup Ray Emery was now seen as an insurance policy, perhaps even a potential replacement if Crawford couldn't bounce back. But before any of that could play out, the NHL lockout put everything on pause, cutting the upcoming season down to just 48 games. Crawford in due time would address all those lingering questions about whether he was the right man to remain the goalie for a promising young Hawks team. And oh, did he answer them. With a remarkable 19-5-5 record over 30 games, a 1.94 goals against average, and a stellar .926 save percentage, Crawford showcased his elite play all season long. 67% of his starts were considered high quality, underscoring just how consistent he had become. Looking back, it's clear now that 2012 was an outlier, a rare blip in what would otherwise be a career defined by resilience. Crawford would never again face such struggles, but when it came to the playoffs, Corey Crawford proved he was truly something special. With a 16-7 record, Chicago's journey to the Stanley Cup wouldn't have been possible without him. As the starting goalie, Crawford posted an impressive .932 save percentage and an 82.6% quality start rate, meaning in over 80% of his starts, he was giving his team a legitimate chance to win. If you're consistently providing your team with that level of performance, it's no surprise they're lifting the cup at the end of it all. Some of my personal favorite moments from those playoffs include when Crawford took down Kyle Clifford with a headlock, or when we saw him truly transform into one of the league's top goaltenders in real time. After allowing a soft goal in Game 6 against the Wings in the second round, he completely locked it down for the rest of the playoffs and never looked out of sorts again, something the Crawford of last year just wouldn't be able to bounce back from. And of course, there was that unforgettable save on Brad Marchand in Game 1, a moment that set the tone for the rest of the series. Crawford's impact wouldn't go unnoticed. Even Patrick Kane, the 2013 playoff MVP, admitted in his post-game interview that Crawford deserved the Conn Smythe Trophy and that he had robbed him. But with all the big names like Taves, Kane, Hossa, and Keith, it's easy for a player like Crawford to get overshadowed. Yet his stellar play was crucial, and it's great to see the quality start stat gain more recognition in today's NHL. It really shows that Crawford wasn't just being carried, he was often the one bailing out his team when they needed him most.
Fucking right, Chicago! Biggest bunch of beauties in the league. Fucking worked their nuts off for this trophy. Woo! No one will ever take this away from us. We're the champs.
And let's not forget that Crawford also took home the Jennings Trophy in 2013 for leading the league in fewest goals allowed, along with an 8th place finish in the Vezina voting. Truly, he was a key factor in Chicago's success that year. In 2014, there was a lot of debate surrounding whether Crawford deserved a spot on Team Canada's Olympic roster, especially surrounding the presence of Roberto Luongo and Carey Price. But in the end, Canada chose to go with Mike Smith, leaving Crawford once again overlooked. Despite the snub, Crawford kept his focus, continuing his consistent and solid play. That season, he played a career-high 59 games, posting a 2.26 goals against average and a .917 save percentage and a solid 32-16-10 record. However, his quality starts would drop from 67% in 2013 to 55%, signaling a slight decline. When the playoffs came around, doubts started creeping in again. People began rehashing the same old narrative that Chicago's strong team play was making Crawford look better than he truly was. As the Blackhawks advanced all the way to Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals against the Los Angeles Kings, Crawford wasn't the same animal he had been a year earlier. His quality starts dropped further to just 47% with an 11-8 record in the postseason. This raised concerns in Chicago. How could their starter, the one supposed to be leading them, deliver less than half their quality starts in such a crucial time? Some would argue that the quality start metric only measures save percentage, not the actual quality of chances against, and that's fair enough. But then came 2015, a season where Crawford bounced back and once again proved that he could figure it all out. In the 2014-15 season, Corey Crawford played in 57 games, posting an impressive 32-20-5 record. He recorded a .924 save percentage and a 67% quality start rate. His performance earned him a well-deserved All-Star Game nod, a second Jennings Trophy, and a 6th place finish in Vezina voting. And as we've seen time and time again, and I'll say it now, there's no way the Chicago Blackhawks win 2 Stanley Cups in 3 seasons without Crawford standing tall in net. When the playoffs came around, Crawford was ready. With a 13-6 record, a .924 save percentage, and 63% quality starts, he secured his second Stanley Cup championship. And I really think it was Crawford's play during the 2015 Stanley Cup run that really solidified his place as one of the league's top goaltenders. In the first round, when Crawford struggled against the Predators in games 1 and 2, it looked like Chicago might have to rock with backup goaltender Scotty Darling. But once Darling came back down to earth in game 6 of that series, Crawford came back and reclaimed what was rightfully his, clinching that series in that game and never looking back, showing his dog-like resilience. In 2016, Crawford continued to defy the doubters, turning in one of his best statistical seasons. He also earned national recognition when he was selected to represent Canada at the 2016 World Cup of Hockey. And it would be the first and only time he would wear his country's jersey at any level. That season, he finished 6th in Vezina Trophy voting again, playing 58 games, winning 35, and posting a stellar .924 save percentage, a 2.34 goals against average, and a 69% quality start rate. Unfortunately, in the playoffs, Chicago's hopes were dashed in the first round by the St. Louis Blues, who bested them in a hard-fought 7-game series. Though Crawford's performance was solid, it wasn't enough to push them through. He finished the series with a 3-4 record, a .907 save percentage, and a 57% quality start rate. However, Crawford bounced back the following year, earning a spot in the 2017 All-Star Game. He posted a 32-18-4 record with a respectable .918 save percentage. Yet surprisingly, his quality start percentage dipped to just 52%, his lowest since the 2012 season. But it was that same year, 2017, when the Nashville Predators made a statement, sweeping the Blackhawks in the opening round of the playoffs in a rather embarrassing upset. Then in 2018, it seemed like Chicago's era of dominance was completely unraveling. And I don't think it's a coincidence that this was the year Crawford found himself sidelined for much of the season, spending considerable time on the injured list. And his absence towards the end of his career truly highlighted just how vital Crawford was to this team's success. People can try and downplay it as much as they want to, but when Crawford was on the ice, he was stellar. His injury, though, seemed to mark the turning point where everything fell apart for Chicago. Had Crawford stayed healthy in 2018, it's likely the Blackhawks would have made the postseason, and who knows what could have followed from there. It was clear, though, his value to this team was immeasurable. Crawford's 2018 season was cut short by a concussion, limiting him to just 28 games for Chicago. Despite the injury setback, he posted an impressive 16-9-2 record, a remarkable .929 save percentage, a 2.27 goals against average, and a 63% quality starts. In many ways, Crawford could have been on his way to having one of the best seasons of his career, aging like fine wine. But the injuries started to pile up far too quickly. As 2019 rolled around, there were lingering questions about Chicago and Crawford's future. Could he make a successful return after such a devastating concussion? Unfortunately, injuries would continue to plague Crawford for much of the remainder of his career. In 39 appearances that year, Crawford posted a 14-18-5 record. Retirement talk was starting to heat up around this time, but the resilient goaltender wasn't ready to call it quits just yet. Despite these injury struggles, Crawford fought on, showing he still had plenty of hockey left in him. The strange year of 2020. The one where the pandemic flipped the sports world upside down. But amidst the chaos, Corey Crawford made an impressive comeback, helping the Chicago Blackhawks pull off an unexpected upset in the qualifying round, stunning Connor McDavid and the Oilers, and securing a return to the playoffs. Crawford's performance that season before it was cut off was back to his usual high standard, finishing with a 16-20-3 record, a .917 save percentage, and a 2.77 goals against, and a solid 64% in quality starts. In the postseason, Crawford played in 9 games, going 4-5 with a .907 save percentage, showing flashes of brilliance, especially against Edmonton and Vegas, where he essentially stole the play-in series from the Oilers. By this point, after 17 seasons since being drafted, Crawford was set to hit the open market for the very first time. What followed left fans heartbroken. Chicago, after all he'd done for the team, couldn't come to terms with Crawford on a contract extension. In the end, Crawford moved on, signing a 2-year deal with the New Jersey Devils, knowing there was still more hockey to be played and more in the tank. When Crawford arrived in Jersey, he found the love and passion he once had for the game, passion he'd been nurturing and competing with at the highest level for nearly 2 decades, had faded. The fire that had driven him to greatness was gone, and with it, his desire to continue his career. Crawford himself admitted that he could no longer perform at the elite level required, and he felt it would be unfair to the Devils to carry on at anything less than his best. And so with that, Blackhawks legend Corey Crawford made his decision to retire. His career concluded with 260 wins, 162 losses, and 53 overtime losses across 488 games. Boasting a career save percentage of .918, better than both Pecorine and Carey Price, he had a quality start percentage of 60. In the playoffs, Crawford played in 96 games, securing 54 wins, maintaining the same .918 save percentage, and posting a quality start rate of 58%. A model of consistency. Yet despite all that, he faced countless detractors throughout the years. There was always a narrative surrounding Crawford. On his off nights, the story became, Crawford isn't that good, but when he played out of his mind, people would say anyone could look that good in front of the Hawks. Yet for the fans who watched every game, they know the real truth. His worth, his talent, his impact. It's a shame that his recognition didn't get extended beyond being labeled as a great goalie for a great team. Sadly, I don't think Crow's career lasted long enough for him to make it into the Hockey Hall of Fame. Had he played just a little longer, we might be telling a different story. With 2 Stanley Cups, 2 Jennings trophies, 2 All-Star appearances, and a World Cup win with Team Canada, Crawford had an exceptional career. He'll undoubtedly see his number retired in Chicago soon enough. It won't be long before number 50 joins the rafters in Chicago too. And that's a wrap, boys. What a vibe this one was. Crawford was my all-time favorite goalie growing up, so I'm stoked to share this passion project with you boys. With all the hype around Spencer Knight, I just wanted to remind everyone of Chicago's last true elite starter, Corey Crawford. So let me know your favorite Crawford memory below. Let me know if you guys think Spencer Knight can become a mainstay in Chicago. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you boys in the next one.